Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show, our weekly EV portion, and I'm Pete Gruber.
Mark Schaffner, good morning. Welcome, everybody.
The background behind us, we're experimenting with some different types. This is a AI creation, and I asked for some lightly colored pastel futuristic newsroom, and it looks like it's pretty pleasant on the eyes. You can tell there are a couple of AI-generated microphones that kind of mirror ours.
Just a little bit. I think the next thing we need to do is get some more pastel-colored chairs for us.
That and a bunch of cables on theirs as well to kind of match what we have here.
Yes, yes.
So, Mark, tell us about this Lucid news this last week regarding a ramp in European deliveries.
Yeah, you know, we're in a tariff-happy environment right now. Europe has tariffs on Chinese cars. China has tariffs on European cars. And on U.S. cars, and U.S. has tariffs. No one has tariffs in Saudi Arabia, though. And that's because Saudi Arabia didn't used to make cars until this year. Lucid's AMP2 manufacturing facility is coming online. While right now they are mainly just available to make kit cars, the new manufacturing plant, which is due to be online by the end of next year, is going to have production capacity for 150,000 vehicles and be able to do full manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
So Lucid has had that announcement. They're talking about these cars are going to be going out to European and South Asian markets, as well as the market in the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
I did a quick look, and the Saudi Arabian kingdom is about 1 million cars a year. So it's a pretty significant piece of land,
Production capacity.
production capacity and pretty significant market.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the AMP2 facility, like I said, it just assembles kits. It basically, cars are manufactured almost completely here in the United States. A few parts are left off the cars. They're shipped over to Saudi Arabia where the assembly is completed. That makes it a Saudi Arabian car. And then they're being sold to Saudi Arabia, and that market itself is developing. Once the new plant is done, it will immediately be able to ramp up operations and be able to start exporting to Europe and South Asian markets. Largely without the tariff issues because nobody has tariffs on Saudi Arabia. And the Saudi government is also looking to bring a third-party battery manufacturer in to supply the Lucid plant and have them basically co-located.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Lucid will become Saudi Arabia's only domestic automaker, although there are some other small EV automakers that are getting started in the area. And but currently, all cars in Saudi Arabia are purchased from out of the country. Kia and Hyundai and Toyota lead the market, but there are several different types of brands. One of the more surprising things that I saw, and brings me back to the tariffs idea, Saudi government is talking about what was unthinkable as little as 2 or 3 years ago. And that would be establishing some sort of tariff for foreign cars in order to help bolster their own automotive industry.
Interesting. And if you think about their physical location, they're centrally located. We have the entire, African continent, which granted doesn't buy a lot of cars at this point in time, but you have Northern Africa, which probably does or would be eligible. And then, of course, Europe and Asia.
Yeah, and in proximity to Europe as well. You have a short road trip, either train, either rail or truck, to the ocean. Saudi Arabia, if I remember my geography correctly, Saudi Arabia does have Mediterranean Sea access. And if not, it's very close to it.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it's a very short boat trip up into the European markets.
Well, there's a question for the audience. Does Saudi Arabia have Mediterranean Sea access?
Yeah, I don't remember my geography well enough
I'm trying
right
to
now.
do a visual now, and it's there's something confusion there with Egypt and the Nile and all of that, the Nile Delta. But yeah, it's entirely possible.
Worst case, Saudi Arabia does have Red Sea access, and even there, they come down through the Persian Gulf, across the Suez Canal and into the Mediterranean that way.
Correct. Yeah.
Hey, Pete,
Yes.
Saudi Arabia does not have access to the Mediterranean Sea.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Aaron.
they do have access to the Red Sea to the west and the Persian Gulf to the east.
Thank you for that update. Yes. And by the way, those of you watching, feel free to chime in. We always like the audience to participate and ask questions and, offer advice, whatever it is that you feel is important for this podcast.
This next article is a fun one, isn't it?
It is, yeah. With all of the, we've got an image to pop up here, Jesse, with all of the bad press that Tesla is getting, and I think it's beginning to decline now. Here's a picture of a Cybertruck, and this is a good one. The image doesn't appear to be on our screen here, but the title is "Mom Saw a Tesla Cybertruck in Los Angeles and Left a Memorable Handwritten Note for the Owner." And I will read you the note, even though it's in the cutout on this image. Let me just check here real quick. Are we having a problem with our monitor? Is the audience able to see this image, Jesse? Yes, they are. Okay, good. It's just our monitor then. So I used AI, and you can see there's some handwriting there, and it's not completely legible. Parts of it are
kind
cut
of hard
off.
to
Yeah.
read, but
So I fed it through AI, and all you have to do is feed it the image and say, hey, transcribe this for me, and it came back and it did it perfectly. What Mom is saying here is she's saying, my 8-year-old son is having a birthday party on May 18th, and he loves Cybertrucks and would love for one to show up for his party. Can I pay you? My number is, whatever. Yeah.
that's so cool.
Absolutely.
I hope that Cybertruck owner was in good humor and just went to the party.
And participated, yes. All right, here's another interesting one that came up this last week. China says it will beat Ferrari is the headline on this. And the backstory on this is, it kind of looks like a Ferrari. It's red. That's a good start.
Yeah.
Sports car front end. And so this is China now attempting to create a market in the Ferrari world. This is Great Wall Motor Company, which is GWM. And the article goes like this. They're stepping into the supercar arena with a bold mission to outperform Ferrari. Backed by over 5 years of R&D and led by Chief Technology Officer Wu Haichuao. I think I pronounced that right. Wait a minute, let me try it again, because I asked AI, how do you pronounce this? Wu Weixiao. There we go. Too many X's and double consonants in there for me. But anyway, GWM's yet-to-be-named high-performance machine is being developed with the help of European track experts and cutting-edge materials like carbon fiber monocoques. Wu claims that it will rival or even beat the Ferrari the SF90 Stradale, and this statement apparently has ignited a global buzz. Well, the rumored hybrid powertrain on this Chinese supercar will be a 4.0-liter twin-turbo V8, which all points to a very lightweight, high-output beast designed for both performance and efficiency. GWM's existing vehicle is a 2.0-liter H4-Z hybrid, and it already delivers 851 horsepower. So this kind of proves their engineering muscle. Yeah, with a 2-liter engine.
With
that's
a 2-liter engine.
pretty remarkable. They say that this supercar could become a disruptive force in the Euro-dominated segment, offering similar thrill at a lower price, reshaping the global perception about Chinese performance vehicles.
First thing, I had to find out for myself, what is this Ferrari that they're talking about? This particular Ferrari runs, depending on options, between $600,000 and $1 million new.
Mm-hmm.
I found some used ones online. Actually, not that uncommon of a car. I found 3 here in the Phoenix metro area. All 3 of them were around the $500,000 range.
Okay.
This car produces I'm going to just give you the high-end specs. Has 3 electric motors, hybrid with a 90-degree offset V8 engine that produces roughly 1,000 horsepower. 2 motors, one running each of the 2 front wheels and a little bit larger motor with the back, and is designed for performance, not efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So it advertises a 2.3 second 0 to 60 time. When Car and Driver took this car out for testing and to get the specs on the car, they did, of course, tested the 0 to 60 time, and they got a 2.0 second 0 to 60 time.
Bad.
So very fast car. Definitely your high performance sports car. It would be something for this car to have to really beat. You don't find ICE engine cars that are that fast. You can find electrics that are that fast without too much problem.
Right, right. Well, folks, here's my take on this Chinese upstart that is going to take over the Ferrari market. First of all, beating a Ferrari is not that hard. I did it all the time in my Viper. And secondly, beating the legendary history and the mystique of Ferrari, that's the hard part. We've got 80 years of reputation and bragging rights for people that own these types of cars. I don't think we're going to get a rapid migration from the Ferrari camp into the GWM camp because it's got a little faster 0 to 60 time.
I have to agree. I mean, China's reputation is more for cars like the Seagull.
Mm-hmm.
$10,000, 120 miles,
Mm-hmm.
0 to 60 eventually.
Yeah.
Definitely not performance. And yet, think about it. China's had pretty much 2 generations now coming to U.S., coming to Europe, going elsewhere in the world to get their students educated. They're high-performing, very smart people, great work ethic, and a lot of those people are coming back and making careers for themselves in China.
Right.
I think they might be able to pull this off.
Yep. Well, it'd be interesting to watch GWM and whether they can actually begin to make inroads into that exotic Euro supercar world. Another article here that came up, bring this up. The 2026 Lucid Gravity is the fastest charging EV outside of China, apparently. They say that you can add over 200 miles of range in just 11 minutes. Plus, it's got native access to the Tesla superchargers. Well, here's the rest of the story. It has 450 miles of EPA range and the ability to add 350 miles of range in just over 20 minutes. So they call it a certified road tripping beast. And of course, it's got 7 seats.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we used to have what were called station wagons. You remember those?
I do remember those.
And those would hold 7 people. And typically, the kids would end up in the back, which was facing in the rear.
Yeah,
and
you had those rear-facing back seats. That's right.
And if you weren't used to it, you got car sick because you were going backwards, right? But the 7-seat criteria, I'm not sure how important that was in the design, overall design, because I'm not sure how many people would be interested or need 7 seats in a vehicle. But nonetheless, Lucid decided the Gravity needed to have that. So they go on with this article. They say, it's not every day that you see an electric vehicle that nails its charging capabilities. That means having a natively equipped Tesla charging port compatible at both Tesla and non-Tesla charging stations and offering the maximum possible charging speeds at all stations. Well, the Lucid Gravity does just that, they say. It comes with the built-in NACS connector, neatly tucked on the rear left side of the vehicles, so owners don't have to park across 2 stalls to make a short supercharger cable work. And they say that it's also a charging monster, unlike anything they've seen in North America to date. It's also worth noting that the Lucid Air is already one of the fastest charging EVs in the U.S., but its peak charging speed is limited to 50 kW at Tesla superchargers. Well, that's because it rides on a 900-volt architecture, whereas Tesla's version 3 superchargers have a limited output of 250 kW at 500 volts. So they don't work well with the air. However, with the Gravity, Imad Dalala, who's Senior Vice President of Powertrain at Lucid Motors, explains that the car maker has made several upgrades to the Gravity to address this. He says it will charge fast at stations with CCS ports and EVgo and Electrify America. But it's also a quick charge at the superchargers, at the Tesla superchargers. So the motors, the inverter, and the internal wiring on the Gravity were all redesigned to ensure that the Gravity does not slow charge at a Tesla supercharger like the Air. The supercharger network is by far, by the way, the largest charging network in North America. And the Gravity gets a plug and charge capability for Tesla superchargers and Electrify America stations. That means they say that you won't have to fiddle with credit cards and payment applications.
I'm impressed. You know, we've talked in the past about the Lucid Gravity using one of its electric motors essentially as a transformer to help it to step up or step down to the charging network that it's on. And this is the proof that that worked. Kudos to the Lucid engineers for thinking of something that's so novel. My wife and I went to Los Angeles over the last weekend, and I could see 20 minutes. That's all the time. You know, it was. I have to admit, it was very cool. Go in, plug in your car to the supercharger. You see it ramp up, and it's doing 500 miles, 513 miles in an hour. Think that's pretty cool. 2 minutes later, it's at 250 miles an hour. 4 minutes later, it's at 180 miles an hour. It's because as the battery fills up, the charging gets regulated.
Yeah, they don't want them to overheat the batteries as it reaches the maximum charge.
Exactly. And Lucid has figured that out so that you can go from basically a 0% to almost 90% charge before the charging system really starts slowing down. That's also quite the engineering feat.
So it looks like Lucid continues to improve their products. All right, we've got a comment coming in. Instagram, Tyler Huntalo, he says, where are the signature shades? You haven't been with us in a while, Tyler. We dropped those, about 3-4 months ago or so.
Yeah, it's been a couple months at least.
Yeah. And now it's proof that we are not AI, we're not robots, we're not aliens. Our eyes don't glow. They really are human eyes.
That's right.
So here's another interesting image. Morgan Stanley called Optimus, the Tesla Optimus robot, a $5 trillion opportunity. And it's all centered on this humanoid robot called Optimus. Well, the analysts project that by 2050, the global humanoid robot market could generate annual revenues of $5 trillion with up to 1 billion robots deployed, primarily in industrial and commercial settings. Well, Tesla is well positioned to capitalize on this growth due to its integrated approach to hardware and software and AI. And as Elon has pointed out, that Optimus is significant in that it could become Tesla's most important product, with plans to produce thousands of units annually. This projection underscores, of course, Tesla's evolution from an automotive company to a leader in AI and robotics, which is what we've been saying all along.
Think about $5 trillion a year. Here in the United States, our annual gross domestic product is somewhere around $35 trillion a year. And the U.S. has the largest gross domestic product of any country in the world. That's roughly 15% of the country's GDP. The healthcare industry, probably the largest single industry here in the United States, is under $2 trillion a year in overall expenses or overall spend. The U.S. government spends about $7 trillion a year. And that's a mind-boggling, massive number. But we're talking about the same amount of revenue coming in that the U.S. government gets in taxes on a yearly basis, all in these robots. What an opportunity that would be for a single company to potentially be able to capture that.
And the projections are that at some point the humanoid robots will outnumber human occupants on this planet.
I could see it happening.
Yeah. I mean, just think about it in your home. You may have one that does the cooking. You may have another one that does the landscaping. You may have another one that cleans the pool, does the maintenance, and, multiple, or provides services for the kids, nannies, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see where there would be multiple robots compared to humans. Right. Another image here, and this one was fascinating. The Swiss are really going all out with solar, it appears. They are installing solar panels between main train tracks, and it could power up to 2% of their nation's grid. Now, the picture that you see here, of course, is in the Alps, and you can see the railroad tracks there. The first thing that comes to mind for me is protecting the surface of these solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
In any kind of high-speed type transport like this, you're going to have things that jiggle loose, pop loose, rocks flying around at times, and these would have to be pretty robust. But it looks like the Swiss have figured out something here. So here's how this article reads. Switzerland is redefining green infrastructure by transforming its railway tracks into solar farms. This is a first-of-its-kind project led by Sunways, is the company with a hyphen. Removable solar panels are being installed between train tracks using a special rail-deploying machine. Each panel fits seamlessly into the track bed without disturbing train operations. Once in place, they capture sunlight that would otherwise be wasted space, generating up to 1 terabyte per hour or 1 terawatt hour of clean energy per year. That's enough to power 2%, in the case of Switzerland, their grid. So what makes this remarkable is the dual use of infrastructure. No need for new land. No disruption to natural habitats. You're taking something that, is basically a pile of rocks anyway and converting it into something useful.
One of the things I think about, first, I know here in the United States, dual use for land, for railroad beds and railroad right-of-ways has been, it's been going on longer than we've been alive. Utility power. You have the power poles with probably 20 or 30 high voltage lines running alongside the railroad tracks. So that means that your solar could easily tap into that utility power.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be very interested to see what would happen with wildlife, because there's wildlife crossing the train tracks all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Are these solar panels going to be robust enough to be able to take 1,000-pound animal stepping on it?
Mm-hmm. Good point. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm assuming that they got it figured out and that they probably will.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I think it's a wonderful use of the technology, though.
Well, you had mentioned something earlier. In the state of Arizona, we have what's called the Central Arizona Project Canal, which feeds water from the Colorado River in California, actually on our border.
Yes.
Across the state, and that's really what has made this into a desert, growing area.
Mm-hmm.
Without that water, it would still be a desert. The problem that they have with the Central Arizona Canal, or any of these canals, which, by the way, were not built primarily by the Caucasians that came later, the Indians, the native Indians, actually built a lot of these canals.
Yes, they did.
And the problem occurs, evaporation. You were mentioning 40%?
Yeah, at least 40% evaporation from the time the water starts at the Colorado River and gets the almost 300 miles down to Phoenix.
Sure. So one of the things that was proposed decades ago, and I was fascinated by that with the CAP canal, which still hasn't been put in place, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
was the use of solar panels covering the canal. And it was the same strategy. You have an electrical grid infrastructure all along the canal for the locks and the levees.
Right.
So you're feeding, power all up and down these hundreds of miles of canals. Well, now you add solar panels. The inverters now feed that grid, and they provide power for the locks and canals.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other problem you have with solar panels is dust. It's going to degrade the output of a solar panel. Well, since you have water just below the panels, you simply, put a pipe down there and a pump, and you periodically flush those panels with the canal water. So it made perfect sense. It was a dual purpose, or even more than that, and a very efficient way to, solve a couple of problems.
In our last election cycle, there was a gentleman running for an Arizona Corporation Commission seat. He did not win a seat in this case, but one of the platforms that he ran on was this very platform, in fact. So it's
Really?
getting attention at the highest levels of Arizona government. Or in his use case, it was water usage and water loss that was driving this.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that if you put solar panels or some sort of covering, but he liked the idea of solar panels, you would have enough solar energy to power the state of Arizona indefinitely into the future. And the water loss would go from somewhere around 40% to probably anywhere from 15 to 25% water loss to evaporation. And that would completely solve the Colorado River water issues that the state of Arizona has been struggling with for all these years as well.
Right. And it would probably create a bit more balance as well between the two countries that are using the Colorado River. The mighty Colorado River, by the time it gets to Mexico, is a stream.
Yes.
And water rights have been hotly debated in this area of the country for many decades now, between California and the state of Arizona.
They have.
So that would begin to solve some of those problems as well. The Swiss program here, though, they say would also allow scaling across Europe and beyond. Europe is has a heavy rail infrastructure compared to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So this makes perfect sense for that region of the world. Right. Looks like we've got an article here about more Tesla megapacks for Colossus 2. If I have an image for you there. This is Colossus 2 in Memphis, Tennessee. Colossus 1, I'm sorry. Colossus 2 is under construction currently. And this is Tesla's AI data center, basically. Fairly large facility. And what this article is about is they are adding Tesla megapacks to this infrastructure here. They say the first Colossus site connected 150 megawatts to the local utilities there, TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, one of our early customers, actually.
Okay.
I remember them well. And it is supported by 156 megapacks that provide 150 megawatts of stored energy for XAI's supercomputers. Well, the Colossus 2 now, that is scheduled for completion at some point, will also receive some of these megapacks, and there are 168 of them that have been dedicated for this. In fact, I think I have a picture. They may already be on site. Yeah, there's our image there. Those things are huge. They're the size of sea containers, basically.
Wow.
So they are suggesting around 100 units for this 150 megawatt capacity for Colossus 2. And that will provide power for the 200,000 GPU clusters that are scheduled for Colossus 2. It's a $230 million investment for these power walls. And that will be how this is going to be running in Memphis, Tennessee. Let me see if I have another picture for you here. Looks like those may be the only two.
heard that environmentalists were very concerned with the Colossus 2 site. The main reason for those concerns was that Tesla had put natural gas turbines on the property to do the electricity generation for the property itself. I mean, 150 megawatts is a massive amount of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the megapacks, they're going to be able to transition to more grid power, which means the grid will feed the megapacks will feed the center. You can think of it probably as the world's largest UPS.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, uninterruptible power source.
Because it really will be completely uninterruptible power, and the grid infrastructure can be upgraded to feed the power into all of these different megapacks, and the actual power itself, whether it's solar generated or the Tennessee Valley Authority is well known for its hydroelectric generation capabilities. They can turn on the hydroelectric generation. Those are all clean, renewable energy sources. And that has done a lot to mollify the environmentalists, basically,
Mm-hmm.
that were opposing the creation of this supercomputer. I just have to wonder, you see that massive building, all one computer?
Interesting question. Yeah. In combination, most likely.
Probably is.
Yeah. Fascinating how much power AI is beginning to consume and the requirements for this new technology. So another article here, Tesla's is paying Powerwall owners just shy of $10 million in this particular area for the use of their power plants. It's $9.9 million, and the distributed energy is what they call this. They're virtual power plants, or VPPs, and they consist of power walls in homes that augment or supply power to the grid. Instead of using expensive peaker power plants, which are fossil fuel-powered plants that are activated at peak energy use times to ensure the grid has enough power to supply the demand and avoid brownouts. Peak power is typically when all of us get home from work.
Yeah.
And we run the shower, the cook stove, all the appliances in the home. We do the laundry and
turn down the air
and,
conditioning because we're home now. And
right, or turn it up in that case. Yep, turn it down and up. That's right. Okay, yeah, you had it right the first time. So it turns out that in 2021, there was an experiment done in California, which Powerwall owners voluntarily, without compensation, let the VPP pull power from their battery packs when the grid needed it. Well, it turns out that it was successful, and that was the reason. It was to prove the usefulness of such a system. And following the pilot program now, there is actually revenue that is being fed back to the owners of these VPP plants or these power walls in their home. So this may be the future of augmenting and expanding and distributing our power grids.
I think it's a wonderful theory, and to me, it's exciting that the theory has been proven out.
Mm-hmm.
You've got rooftop solar that's been going on for a generation now, and a lot of that rooftop solar simply makes its way back into the grid, but it's unregulated. You can't, as a utility, you can't say, "Oh, it's peak power time. I need more power. Let's go get some rooftop solar."
Mm-hmm.
But now they can.
Yeah.
If the rooftop solar is feeding into a battery pack throughout the day, now they've got a bunch of charged battery packs that can power 3 or 4 homes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fascinating.
It is the future. YouTube joined us just now. Ghost Privacy. Welcome. He says, "Hey, guys.
Hey.
How are you?" Right? I have something else here, and this has to do, let me bring up a picture here. It turns out this is a picture of the Tesla's board of directors. And we've got Kimball Musk at the top there, which is, of course, Elon's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And Elon is in the middle. To the left of Elon is Robin Denholm, who has been a board member since 2018. But we have a new person joining, Jack Hartung, down at the bottom there. And he is the president currently of Chipotle, and will retire from this role and join the board June 1st, 2025. A little bit of juggling here with board members, but apparently there is yet another pay increase, or the pay increase, that is being contested right now with the Delaware court, and which has not made it past that yet. And so the issue becomes that shareholders are complaining about the exorbitant amount that Elon would be paid, $56 billion. And Elon's threat that he would take projects like AI away from Tesla unless he received more stock options. So this is what's being hotly contested currently. The chair, Robin Denholm, is also involved in some of these huge payments. She has sold a whopping $538 million in Tesla stock since she joined the board in 2014.
Wow.
It sounds like being on the Tesla board of directors is a very lucrative project. And so it'll be interesting to see how this evolves, how this addition to the board will eventually, affect Elon's pay package.
It really will. The last time Tesla had a vote of the general shareholder population, they were in contesting with the Delaware court Elon's pay package. At the time, it was valued somewhere under $50 billion. It was still massive. Over 2/3 of the shareholders at the time said, yeah, pay the guy, let him have his stock options. And so to know that there is the idea of a shareholder revolt over his pay package, I still think it's a minority of shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
And that minority just happens to be very vocal. And that minority also has the support of the Delaware court that Tesla even argues now that doesn't even have jurisdiction anymore now that Tesla is reincorporated in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Well, so the latest addition, Jack Hartung, will be the 9th member of Tesla's board, and he will join the company on June 1st. So there you have it. That's today's EV news. It looks like we've got one final comment here from YouTube.
Yes, Ghost Privacy on YouTube says they were talking about using extra VPP power for mining Bitcoin a couple of years ago for passive income.
Wow.
Well, considering Bitcoin is worth almost $100,000 a coin right now, that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah. Can you imagine one of these companies using these massive data centers to mine Bitcoin, like this Colossus 2, for example? They change their mind and say AI is not quite as important as the revenue that we could generate by mining.
That would be interesting. Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency is getting close to the end when it comes to being able to be mined.
Yeah.
There were 21 million, roughly, Bitcoins that were through the algorithm available to be found, and nearly all 21 million have been found at this point.
Really? Okay.
So the other coins, as it were, do not have that restriction. They have an unlimited supply, but Bitcoin's supply is limited, and so once it gets to that 21 million, that's supposed to happen within the next couple of years.
Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. We do these podcasts every week. Tomorrow we'll have the AI podcast at 10 o'clock as well. And then Thursday, our COM podcast at 2:30 in the afternoon. And Friday morning at 10 o'clock is the Gruber Power Services podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Have a great day.